In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
It got up to like $68,000. My heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
The Internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Whoa! Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely. Let's get started again.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the Internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard.
Businessman there, drink my wine.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome, everybody, and welcome, fellow patriots, and welcome once again to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show on this beautiful October afternoon. At least it's beautiful on the East Coast. And we're coming to you live from the studios of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the Internet with CPR Worldwide Media, Leading Edge Radio Network, TalkStream Live, The Pun and Press, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Roar Radio, and AM FM 24/7. And joining me today as my co-host is the patriot, Washington, D.C., the exceptional one, the exceptional conservative, Kenneth McClinton. Ken, welcome to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show.
Rick, it's always good to be here with you and the great people from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware, and all around the free world and the static world on the Internet.
Great to have you with us, Ken. Ken, what's on your radar screen today?
Well, first thing on the radar screen is the settlement agreement right now between Donald Trump, Ben Carson, and CNBC. Apparently, against the wishes of Carly Fiorina, CNBC has decided that they do not want people sitting by their television for 3 hours listening to 18 people, actually maybe 11, debating politics. So they have actually made a decision with the encouragement of Donald Trump to make the next debate not 3 hours, but actually 2 hours, which is beginning to show the influence that those who are outside the paradigm of the Republican Party have in influencing the political debate in today's marketplace.
Mm-hmm. Ken, I think that shows the power of Donald Trump more than anyone or anything else. I agree. I mean, who can sit through a 3-hour debate? I mean, it would be, the whole idea of these debates, Ken, I think is flawed. I do believe these debates should be each candidate questioning each other. I hate the moderator. I hate the stupid questions that these candidates are asked. Who gives a darn? Who gives a darn what somebody's code name should be when they're elected president? Okay? Let the candidates debate each other. These moderators, they get in the way. They try to make themselves the star of the thing. The whole thing stinks. I don't know why there's a Republican debate on CNN anyway. I mean, I just don't understand it, especially with the CNN moderators.
Exactly. Personally, I agree with you. I want to see them debate each other, or at least the stupid questions go away. I don't want to know what boxers or briefs Hillary Clinton is wearing. I don't care about that kind of thing. What I care about is, what are your thoughts about auditing the Federal Reserve? What are your thoughts about the Obama foreign policy that has gone awry, and now even Obama recognizes it's not working? Yes. I mean, those are the things that are most concerning to me. I don't want to know if Donald Trump's hair is real. I just don't.
I don't either. I want to see some substantive issues asked, like about Iran and their nuclear ambitions, our economy, what's going on in Iraq and Afghanistan, what went on in Benghazi. Let's talk about some substantial things happening in the world. I mean, gosh, Ken, it's so frustrating.
Well, going on, and as we know that the eventual interview by the Benghazi committee is coming on Hillary Clinton, what a give back per se was there on the Democrat debate recently this week when Colonel Bernie Sanders, and I do mean the KFC looking Colonel Bernie Sanders, gave a out to Hillary Clinton by saying that America doesn't care about her emails. We have to remember that General Petraeus went to jail, well, was threatened with going to jail at least, for having an exchange of classified information with his girlfriend, ghostwriter, for his autobiography. Mm-hmm. We have already seen with Hillary Clinton at least 10,000 pages of classified information. And I'm just wondering, how many pages do you get to the point where she's able to go to jail for keeping that stuff on her personal server?
Right. Ken, there was something very interesting. Oh, to answer your question, boy, I don't know. As long as she has friends in the White House and the State Department, I mean, I don't ever think that she will be charged for anything that she has done with her emails or her email server, unfortunately, because she's a Democrat. But there was something very interesting, I do believe, brought out during the debate. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it makes Bernie Sanders looks very good. Jim Webb, who is one of the candidates who was up there, a military veteran who is disabled because of his military service. And Bernie Sanders shared the same stage. Jim Webb served his country in the military. Bernie Sanders did not. He got a conscientious objector deferment. But when asked about his conscientious objector deferment, he didn't talk about his faith or his religion. What he said was he got his deferment because he disagreed with the policies the United States had in Vietnam. Ken. There are a lot of young men and women that served in the war who disagreed with the policies, but went into the military. They were drafted into the military. They served their time because they were Americans. It's the law. However, Bernie Sanders in that debate did not talk about his faith, his religion, what his beliefs in God, his beliefs in not killing any other person. What he talked about was he disagreed with the policy. Mm-hmm. Well, guess what? Well, maybe anybody who disagrees with the policy should be exempt from the service or should be exempt from going to a foreign country to protect the interests of the United States.
You know what? I wish those who were conscientious objectors while serving could be limited in their duties, specifically as Secretary of State. John Kerry being one of them, both, whether on one side or the other of the conscientious objection, are most demonic in my terms. It does the heart no good to think that our men and women who daily and nightly serve our country have to look at individuals like a Hillary Clinton who sacrificed an ambassador, or a Bernie Sanders who chose to write about rape fantasies of women in order to conscientiously object and stay out of Vietnam. To look at those individuals and say, you know what, I'm going to have to vote for them to be president. It's disgusting.
It is disgusting. Hey, Ken, let's hold it there and go to our first break. You are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Ken McClinton and Rick Trader, coming to you from the studio, Conservative Commandos Radio Network, WNJC 1360 in Philadelphia, and around the world on the internet with CPR Worldwide Media, Leading Edge Radio Network, TalkStream Live, The Pun and Press, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, World Radio, and AM/FM 24/7. Today's show is brought to you by the First Amendment, and it is protected by the Second. Don't go away, Ken, and I'll be right back.
Yeah, that's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I...
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, CCRSnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, this is Bob Viden, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show. with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Ken McClinton and Rick Trader. And for rebroadcast of our show, please check out our websites, ccrshow.com or ccrsnetwork.com. And we also have a plethora of internet broadcasting partners who do rebroadcast our shows at mornings at 9 a.m. Eastern. You can log on to the Leading Edge Radio Network. At 1 p.m., log on to roarradio.net. And at 6 p.m., you could log on to thepunditpress.com. Now, you can also hear our show from your telephone the way I did yesterday by calling 832-999-1199. That's 832-999-1199. You don't need an app. You don't need to download anything. Just jot that number down. If you're not near a radio or your computer, hey, your telephone will do. 832-999-1199. Like I mentioned, yesterday I took the day off. The bride and I went for a drive up to the Poconos to see the changing of the leaves and the different colors. We had a great day, but at 3 o'clock, I called. I heard the show. So, Ken, who do you have as guest today?
Well, we have an amazing day. Starting out with three wonderful guests. Eddie Stiplin is about to make history in Akron, Ohio. Firstly, being the first Republican elected to the position in Akron in over 30 years. And certainly because he is African American and drawing the attention of individuals like Senator Rob Portman and Ohio Attorney General DeWine. His name is beginning to flash on the national screen for the GOP. So we'll be talking with him today at 3:35. At 4:05, the beautiful and brilliant Mallory Quigley will be joining us. She is Communications Director for the Susan B. Anthony list. And she'll be talking about the shady money transfer. Yes, they are switching money away from Planned Parenthood to, quote-unquote, women's centers. So we'll be talking about that at the 4:05 mark. And then finally, one of our esteemed members of the commentary alumni, at 4:35, Coach Ron Tunick will be joining us and picking up on a debate issue from Wednesday night with the socialists. Free college is like food gold. We'll be talking about his writing and his opinion regarding the fact that the socialists are beginning to offer virtually the kitchen sink for votes.
Indeed. All right. Interesting guest all. Well, Ken, what else is on your radar screen?
Well, you know, I don't like to go against the President of the United States, especially in the area of foreign policy. Him being a world traveler, him being a community organizer, him being an individual who voted president for most of his industrious political life. But our commander-in-chief made a huge decision this week, one that I can agree with. He is going to keep forces in Afghanistan as a result of the impending conquest desires of the Taliban, who seem to have been strengthened by the idea that we were leaving Afghanistan. Earlier this week, the president talked with the American people through a press conference about the simple fact that the drawdown of troops from Afghanistan would discontinue. And in fact, he would leave behind forces as much as 9,500. The interest of the American people well guarded. The really dirty secret behind all of that is that the Afghanis don't want to fight and don't have anything to fight with. And the Taliban can't wait for the American people to leave so they can take back their country. It's amazing what we learned after 8 years.
And isn't it amazing? And Ken, see, this is what happened when you have people that do not remember their history. Okay? What happened in Vietnam? Militarily, we won that war. Politically, we lost it. When we left Vietnam, the North Vietnamese were under control. The South Vietnamese were supposed to take over, and we were going to supply and arm them. And what happens? Well, the politicals got involved. And, okay, we're gone. We stopped supplying South Vietnam. We stopped supporting them. And what happened is the North Vietnamese rolled right back in. So you're down there in Washington, D.C. I'm sure from time to time you go past that wall, that gray wall, which is about a quarter mile long, that has nearly 60,000 names on it. That not just represents 60,000 lost lives, but 60,000 destroyed families, all for nothing. My concern going into Iraq and Afghanistan was, I think it was the right thing to do. But once again, here we go. We won the wars militarily, but we lost them politically. I would assume in the not too distant future, there will be another monument in Washington, D.C., dedicated to the 5,000 or so brave men and women who've lost their lives in Iraq and Afghanistan. For what? For nothing. Militarily, we won those wars. Politically, we lost them. Barack Obama now says, oh, well, we're not going to pull out totally in Afghanistan. We're going to have some 5,000 troops left there, 10,000, whatever. In my opinion, needs to be 10 times that to be able to hold that country. As you said, Ken, they're not wanting to fight for themselves. They don't have leaders there, Ken. They don't have leaders. When you have dictatorships, Ken, when you have dictatorships like you did in Iraq and in Afghanistan, when you remove that dictator, like when you move a Saddam Hussein, what you've removed is the only leadership in that country. And why? Because Saddam Hussein, he wasn't a dumb guy. He saw anybody with any leadership potential. And with any leadership potential, anybody who could possibly challenge him, he got rid of. He got killed. So when you got rid of him, you had a vacuum of leadership in Iraq. You know, we tried elections and got some very poor leadership there, and that just shows my point. We should never have pulled out of Iraq. We should never pull out of Afghanistan. By the way, we're still in Japan, we're still in Korea, we're still in Germany. We're in Germany and in Japan 70 years after the Second World War ended. We're still in Korea nearly 50 years after that war ended, or 60 years after that war ended. So now he says we're going to leave 5,000 or 10,000 troops there. Well, Mr. Obama, you're the one. The blood of all the men and women who have served in Iraq and Afghanistan and lost their lives, have been wounded and maimed for the rest of their lives, all that blood and all that misery is on your hands because politically you try to do something. You pulled out just to win an election. You pulled those troops out, or you promised to pull out. You're a miserable failure, Barack Obama. I hope you're happy.
Wow. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Probably could, but you just didn't.
Yeah, it's disgusting to say.
It is.
That all those lives were lost. And now we're deciding that the Bush foreign policy was the exact foreign policy that should have been followed in the first place. Amazing.
Well, Ken, like I said, this man and the people on the left do not know history. Their idea is, well, we're going to do this and it's going to work because it's what we want. It's what's going to help us politically. Doesn't help the country. Doesn't help our military. Doesn't help the world situation. It's because they want it. It's the way they want things to be that they're going to do it. Oh, no, it don't work that way, Ken. These people don't understand diplomacy. They don't understand being fair. They don't understand rights and individual rights. The only thing they understand is power, military power. We were the strongest tribe in Iraq. We were the strongest tribe in Afghanistan. When we pulled out, we lost what respect we had built up in these people. There's a book out I advise people to read. It's called The Strongest Tribe. It's written by Bing West. It was about Iraq, how after the surge, how our enemies came to join us. And he asked one of the tribal leaders why they joined us after being our enemy. And they says, well, and he was told by this tribal leader, you don't understand our history. Because if you did understand our history, you would know one thing about us. We follow the strongest tribe. Right now, you're the strongest tribe, so we're your friends.
If you carry a big stick, you will always be able to lead a great nation.
I agree.
Period.
Ken, with that, it's break time again, and you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Ken McClinton and Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network, WNJC 1360, and around the world on the internet. And Ken, I just want to say, these politicians should understand, if they don't have the stomach, if they don't have the guts or the gumption to do the right thing, then don't get us involved in the first place. But once you do, follow through and complete the mission and stay there to make sure it's not all in vain. Ken and I will be right back with our first guest.
Yeah, that's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but
You've heard Paul Delks playing the music on the Your Music Matters morning show. He is also an experienced mortgage loan officer working for U.S. Mortgage Corporation and assists homeowners navigate the reverse mortgage process. Finding yourself asking questions whether or not you set aside enough for retirement, Paul can sit down with you, your family, and your financial advisor and discuss how a reverse mortgage may be a valuable resource for your retirement plan. You will be responsible for paying your taxes and insurance, and the reverse mortgage can help with this and other expenses, such as home health care or other untimely bills. Put Paul's 20-plus years of experience to work for you, as choosing the right option for your situation can be critical. Call Paul at U.S. Mortgage Corporation at 877-213-9977. That's 877-213-9977. Or go to seniormatters.info for more information. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is a licensed mortgage banker in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, and an equal housing lender. NMLS number 3901. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is located at 201 Old Country Road, Suite 140, Melville, New York, 11747. This advertisement applies to first lien mortgages. Paul E. Dilks, NMLS is 485904.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night at Concord Bridge in Trenton. For freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control, leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We're establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired, as I am, about the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on WNJC Radio 1360 a.m. or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioNetwork.com and CCRN.com for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard. From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Ken McClinton and Rick Trader. And for rebroadcasts, check out our website, ccrshow.com or ccrsnetwork.com. You could also hear rebroadcast on any number of internet broadcasting partners at 9 a.m. Log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. At 1 p.m., roarradio.net. And at 6 p.m., you could log on to thepunditpress.com. You could also hear our show any time of the day from your telephone by calling 832-999-1199. You don't need an app. You don't need to download anything. Ken, we're waiting to hear from our first guest. We're trying to make contact with him. Hopefully we'll be able to get a hold of Mr. Steplin. But anything else, Ken, on your radar screen while we're waiting for our first guest?
Almost certainly are a number of things. In fact, speaking of Ohio, there is a group of individuals who are running for the presidency of the United States who suffer from the lack of appeal and just the public demand for them to be president. One of those happens to be Governor John Kasich from the wonderful state of Ohio. Well, in order to garner some attention, Mr. Kasich has decided to come out with his tax plan. And according to his tax plan, he plans, or federal budget, he plans on in 8 years balancing the federal budget, which I think is just absolutely wonderful. However, still not good enough for people to be interested in a man who garners maybe at the very most 1% of the total electorate interest.
Well, Ken, balancing the budget, I think, is very good and admirable. It depends upon the way certain individuals want to balance that budget. Do they want to put more taxes on us? Is that the way? Do they want to deflate our dollars? Or do they want to cut the budgets themselves? You know, Ken.
Exactly.
Our budget is close to $20 trillion. and I've talked about this before here in Conservative Commandos. For those who haven't heard it, let's put this into perspective. Okay. The federal government takes in about $2.1 trillion a year at the present time. $2.1 trillion a year. So in other words, to pay off this federal budget, they would have to stop spending, not spend another dime on anything for the next 10 years. Continue to take in taxes at the current rate, but not spend a single dime. Just pay off the deficit. That's what it would take, Ken. That's what it takes. Now, is that realistic for the federal government to continue to take in money but not to spend a single dime? Of course not. So what's it going to take to pay off this $20 trillion debt, Ken? You know, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. The only, in my opinion, the only way to do it is you have to slash government spending. You have to hit entitlements. You have to go onto that third rail, Ken. You have to cut out all these entitlements and all these mandates.
Exactly. On spending, Mr. Kasich states that he would limit the federal role in education, transportation, job training, and Medicaid. And he proposes severe cut. Well, I don't know if they would be severe, knowing that he once worked in Washington, to Medicare, that would slow the growth rate of the health care program for more than 50 million elderly and disabled people. And I'm quite certain that the people who are not receiving a COLA, cost of living adjustment, who are receiving Social Security.
Oh, by the way, which one happened? And by the way, Ken, people aren't getting a cost of living adjustment who's on Social Security this year. Heads up out there. Forget your cost. But I wonder if Congress is going to take a salary increase.
You know that will be done probably on December 24th when they get ready to get out of town. Of course, they're going to take their increase. It's amazing how we can find money to do dithering of payments of increase to congressional leaders who find no better thing to do than to fund how pigs make love to one another. But we can't seem to find the money for a COLA. It's amazing. Just simply amazing to me.
You know, Ken, and what they're blaming it on, quote unquote, the low cost right now. Okay. The energy. Now, you see, the things that they don't figure in the rate of inflation, is they don't figure in energy, and they don't figure in food. They're the two things that are not figured in the inflation index, the cost of energy and food. Okay, but because we're getting a little break right now, and ladies and gentlemen out there, okay, we are paying. I saw the price of gas this morning, $1.85 a gallon. Okay, which is about $1.50 lower than it was maybe a year or two ago. So they're saying, oh, okay, you're getting such a break on the cost of gas and energy. You're not going to get a cost of living increase if you're on Social Security. Okay, well, you know, they play all these games, Ken. But Ken, it seems to me every time I go to the store or go out shopping or to buy something, the prices are always raised. All right?
That's what I think.
Prices are always raised.
I don't know where they come up with the calculations for this. I mean, the ground beef.
I don't know where they come up with these.
About $3 a pound to about $6 a pound just this year. So if that's not inflation, I don't know what is.
But as I said, food and fuel or energy are not calculated in the cost of inflation. They're not counted in the inflation increase. Okay, but as soon as the price of energy comes down a little bit, what I was starting to say is, price of gas is down. I mentioned $1.85 a gallon. Do you really expect it's going to stay that way? No. I think it will continue to go down throughout the end of this year and maybe even, but eventually that price of energy is going to go up again. Eventually the price of gasoline is going to go up. You know that.
Exactly. You don't have to be a brain surgeon to figure out that the inflation that's being calculated is not the inflation that's being experienced, and we are experiencing inflation. And that's not because this is a sign of a robust economy.
Ken, not to interrupt you, but we are going to take a quick break because we do have our guest with us, and we'll get our guest in right on the other side. And you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Ken McClinton and Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network, WNJC 1360 in Philadelphia, and around the world on the internet with CPR Worldwide Media, Leading Edge Radio Network, TalkStream Live, The Pun and Press, SHR Media, K90, iHeartRadio, Roar Radio, and AMFM247.com. Don't go away, Ken and I'll be back. Right back with our first guest.
That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I...
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, CCRSnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittlesportshop.com.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360. This is the Commandos Radio Show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos Radio Show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Hello. If you would like to hear rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, www.ccrsnetwork.com and www.ccrshow.com. On mornings at 9 a.m., log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. Or at 1 p.m., log on to www.roarradio.net. That's ROARRADIO.net. And now you can listen to the Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. Fresh off the campaign trail is a young man who is attempting to make history in Akron, Ohio, and has drawn a great deal of attention nationally for his campaign. Eddie holds a JD from Cleveland Marshall College of Law, MBA in Finance, and Master's in Taxation from the University of Akron. He's pursuing the mayoralship. Eddie Siplin, good afternoon. It's a great pleasure to have you on WNJC 1360 AM out of Philadelphia.
Hey, thank you for having me on, man. I'm sorry I called it late. I was out doing a lit drop and putting up signs. I have this philosophy. I don't ask my volunteers to do something I'm not willing to do myself. So that's why when you buzzed me, I was like, oh, I forgot. So I was not working.
Listen, I understand exactly, Eddie, and I know your heart. You are campaigning hard to set history in place. And it is good to see that you are a man who will do that which the people would be expected to do. Want to ask you real quick, sir, why are you garnering the attention of Senator Rob Portman and Attorney General Devine? What exactly are you saying that's so different from everyone else?
Well, firstly, from my heart, and I have a true desire to solve the problem and not make it political. And those two men, when I've met them, they have that same desire to do what's right for the people. Because let me explain something to you. This race here in Akron, I feel like I'm David going up against Goliath. Because this race is not about the mayorship. It's really about the contracts and the powers that be trying to protect the status quo. So the race is bigger than me. But the problem is that the people of Akron are suffering, and I just happen to be the right person at the right time, at the right place, for the right reason, with the right credentials. Because if this were about credentials, I would win hands down. It's bigger than that at this point.
Exactly. I want to ask you very quickly. We want to be very succinct with some of the questions because we only have a few moments of your time. But
no problem.
First and foremost, the biggest issue, one of the biggest issues in Akron, Ohio, and the reason why there's no real great economic development there is crime. What are your proposals in terms of dealing with the crime issue in Akron?
Well, the first thing that we have to do is raise the standard of living for people. We've got to create jobs. A large indicator from my being in the streets dealing with folks, a lot of times out of desperation, they're going towards the criminal side of things to generate income to feed their families. We need to find jobs, and what we find is that the past 28 years of the same party control has not created the same economic opportunities for everyone in the city. So first, if we bring in jobs, that's going to do a great deal to do it. Plus, we've got to shore up our safety forces, which includes getting quality police officers, getting them trained, and getting them the proper equipment to deal with that. But the biggest issue is crime and lack of a good education.
Now, in terms of the issue of education, the federal government involves itself propensely in the affairs of cities and other entities or funds. Are you looking at alternatives to receiving federal funding? Are you looking at alternatives to the Common Core standards that are being set by the federal government?
Yes. Here's the problem with Common Core. At the state level, which is really dictates a lot of it, the teachers are spending more time on teaching versus teaching to make sure that the kids get some knowledge and education, something that's going to stick in their heads. And that's part of the problem, because when you have other people paying the cost, you have no control over what they're going to tell you to do. Everything comes at a price. There are no free lunches. So what I'm looking at is what my administration can do to help increase the quality of education for the students here in Akron. We've spent $800 million on buildings, but when it comes to the testing, we've been getting consistently D's and F's on the educational component, which is the most important component.
Now, one of the big concerns of Akron, of course, is economic development. And, you got to compete with Wisconsin, which dropped its taxes, and I know Ohio has dropped its tax rate. But You got New York also that's beginning to provide special tax privileges for people that want to come in and start their businesses, entrepreneurs. And then you have Canada's tax rate to the north of you, which is far lower. What exactly do you want to offer for businesses that would like to site in Akron, Ohio?
Well, first and foremost, create a business-friendly environment where the city will help assist them with getting land. I'm a big proponent of tax incremental financing, that once we tear down and clear out a piece of land for them, we'll tax them as if the land is undeveloped for a number of years so that they can use that revenue to invest in their business and grow. But we've got to, when people are looking to relocate to an area, they want to know that it's a safe city. They want to know that it has good schools. And more importantly, they want to know that the neighborhoods are good environments, good quality neighborhoods. And those are the things that I'm going to create a business-friendly environment to where the businesses can come here and grow and thrive, because they're going to see that they have a city government that is supportive of it. Because my number one goal is to bring jobs to this area. And when we bring jobs to this area and people have money to spend, crime is going to go down and everybody is going to be feeling good about things. And we haven't had that as a primary focus.
We're speaking with Eddie Siplin, who is running for mayor of Akron, Ohio. Has caught the public attention for his candor and debate skills. In the debate, there were those who were peppering you with questions about your experience. Does experience equate to success?
No, it does not, because if you look at the experienced candidates, they're the reasons why the city is in the mess that it's in after 28 years of one-party rule and having the same retreads come out with the same ideas and nothing new. I bring a fresh, new set of eyes, new ideas. Now, I don't know whether or not my ideas will work, but at least I'm bringing new ideas to the table. And those who want to tout their political experience, well, a lot of the city's problems occurred during their tenure, and they did nothing about it. So if you created the problem, what makes you think that, we can trust you to solve the problem once you become mayor?
Now, the one big question is, and then we'll give you an opportunity to tell everybody how they can support you, what they can do for you. One of the big questions that people have is if you become elected mayor, that somehow you would not want to work with the city council because it is a majority Democrat body. What can you do to reach across the aisle and encourage people to do those things which would make the city successful?
Well, here first and foremost, those who are saying that are the ones who are trying not to get me elected. My mission is simple. Build a better Akron. My mission is simple. Build a better Akron, and the vision is to make it a great place to live, work, and raise a family. And I think those that in a heavily Democratic council, that should be their mission also, unless they have some personal agenda. But if we both are there, we're coming from different paths to get to the same place. Their path may or may not be the right way. My path may or not be the right way. But as long as we wind up at the same place, there shouldn't be any problems with us doing what's right for the citizens. We've got to get rid of this Democrat-Republican label. It's about doing what's right for the citizens of Akron. Because I can tell you, when the senior citizens and the poor folks are paying their high sewer bills, they're not paying with a Democratic dollar or a Republican dollar. They're paying with their hard-earned money, where they have to make a choice. Sewer bill, or do I pay utilities, or do I buy food? Those are not Democrat or Republican problems. We've got to get beyond that and start getting government back to doing what it's supposed to do and providing for the common good of all people, regardless of your political party affiliation.
Eddie Siplin, now the world is casting its eyes on you, whether it's Philadelphia or Los Angeles, because if you win in Akron, that sets the pathway for many other urban conservatives to do the very same things in larger metropolises. I want to ask you real quick, how can people support your campaign, and how can people find you to encourage you?
Okay, well,